Hey everyone, I'm back with another video in my first impression series about the teen dramas, and today is about the OC, which I consider to be the third main show in the genre. The OC premiered in August of 2003, just a couple of months after the series finale of Dawson's Creek. Premiering a new show in August is considered pretty unusual today, and was even more unusual back then in 2003. Here's why that happened. Fox always has the rights, or has for as long as I can remember, to the MLB World Series, which typically takes place in October. When Beverly Hills 90210 was on, it would often premiere in September, go on a hiatus during the playoffs in the World Series, and then return afterwards in November and continue its season. With the OC, Fox executives decided that they didn't want to wait till after the World Series to premiere their series, and they also didn't want to start it in September just to immediately have to take a break in October. So they tried out something that was considered really novel at the time, and that was premiering in August. They aired the first 7 episodes, and we all know the 7th episode ended with a pretty big cliffhanger with Marissa overdosing in Tijuana. So viewers got sucked in for the first 7, saw that cliffhanger, and then were hooked and baited into waiting, the month and a half until the series returned after the World Series. To even get more viewers hooked on the show, in addition to airing the episodes on Fox, they also aired on FX, which is Fox's sister network. So I remember FX doing a marathon one day of all 7 episodes. So if you missed the broadcasts on Fox each week, you were able to get caught up before the series returned after the World Series. And then it picked up with episode 8 and continued on through the spring like any normal television series. So the OC, like Beverly Hills 90210, focuses on a group of rich kids, predominantly rich kids and rich families in a ritzy area, but instead of being set in Beverly Hills, it's set in Newport in Orange County. And instead of the fish out of water being twin siblings, Brenda and Brandon, the fish out of water was Ryan, and he was our way into this community. And we got to see and learn about Newport through his eyes, and then soon through the eyes of the other characters as well. Now, I don't know if I watched those first 7 episodes each week or if I watched that marathon. Either way, I got hooked, in that time period. And when the show returned in November, I was watching every week. And I remember watching with my mom a lot each week. It was kind of our thing. I have a really vivid memory of the season 1 Valentine's Day episode. It's after the whole Oliver debacle, when he kind of gets in between Ryan and Marissa, and Marissa doesn't believe all of Ryan's warnings that this is a bad dude. Everybody kind of thinks Ryan's crazy, and we as the viewer see all of Oliver's behavior, and we know he's not crazy, and that Oliver really is a bad guy, but no one else knows that. And the Valentine's Day episode is after Oliver's exposed for being not exactly stable. I'm going to put it very politely. And Ryan isn't really ready to forgive Marissa for, not believing him, for pushing him away, for acting like he was the bad guy. And he ends up spending time with Teresa. And I was a big Ryan and Marissa shipper. I still am. They're one of my favorite couples in the teen dramas. And I just wanted them back together and happy for Valentine's Day. And this would have been around maybe my junior year of high school, which to some extent is old enough to know matters of love. Of course, it's got to be, because our teen dramas are all set in junior year of high school, and they're all about relationships. But I couldn't grasp why Ryan just wouldn't happily reunite with her. And I remember my mom saying he's hurt, Jerry. She hurt him. And that has always stuck with me. The effect that Ryan's behavior had on Marissa, Marissa's behavior had on Ryan, and so on and so forth. Of course, they are a teen drama couple, and my only teen drama couple that doesn't get a happy ending, and instead gets a really tragic ending with Marissa's death at the end of season 3. But one gift of that is really emotional storytelling that it brought in season 4. At the start of season 4, when there's the montage of Summer going through the stages of grief, I love that. When Ryan is, doing his various pursuits of Volchok, I love that. When after he finally meets with Volchok and they kind of settle scores, Julie and Ryan go into the pool house. And a tearful Julie says to Ryan, "Will you tell me about her?" It melts me still. It is such a poignant moment. And then another favorite Ryan Marissa moment without Marissa is later that season in the Christmas, or I guess that might actually be the same episode. Taylor and Ryan are both knocked out as they're like hanging the lights and everything on the ladder, and it brings them to an alternate universe. And as I've said before, I love alternate universes. I'm going to be exploring it a little bit in my holiday post soon, and I'm going to be talking about this episode in particular. And what happens is when they're knocked into this alternate universe, Taylor thinks she learns that in this universe Marissa's alive, and she does the right thing by telling Ryan this, and Ryan's processing it, and all Taylor's concerned about is getting back to their right timeline, the real world that they belonged in. And Ryan says, "But if Marissa's alive," and he doesn't even finish the sentence, and Taylor realizes, "Then you don't want to go back." And it's just another really poignant moment. I think educated viewers knew that Marissa wasn't really alive, that Misha Barton wasn't returning to the show even for that episode, but they did a really clever promo for it, where the scene in which Ryan thinks he's finding Marissa at the airport and it's actually Caitlin, the way they cut the promo was that you only saw Caitlin from the back and it looks like it could have been Marissa. So it was a really smart way to bring in viewers to get them hooked for that episode. Some other things that stand out about the OC, one is Chrismica, and I was a big fan of it at the time that the show aired. As someone who's Jewish, I was really happy to see Hanukkah getting some pop culture attention. But in an essay I recently did about being a Jewish teen drama fan and how the teen dramas did or didn't address Judaism, I explained that my opinion has changed a lot over the last decade. As I look back on the Chrismica episodes, they were in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. They kind of make me cringe now. And it's not because they're done poorly. Like, they're still good, entertaining episodes. But Judaism and Jewishness is often the butt of the joke in those episodes. And it rubs me the wrong way. If you still love Chrismica, that's great. To each their own. If they were on TV, I would gladly watch those episodes. The OC actually went into syndication on SoapNet, just like Beverly Hills 90210 and One Tree Hill did. And then it was also on Pop for a time, if I'm not mistaken, but has been off TV for quite a while now and is only available on DVD and streaming. Anyway, some other things the OC is known for is the way it integrated its adult characters and gave them storylines, and some critics credit the OC for really bringing the genre forward or raising the bar by having adult-focused things. I think they did those things well for the most part. I think there's all storylines involving the adults we don't like Kirsten and Charlotte, for example. I know some people probably don't like the storyline with Sandy and Rebecca. But I think it's a mistake to attribute that to the OC. I think credit really belongs where credit often belongs, with Beverly Hills 90210. There were storylines that were, if not driven by the parents, heavily involved the parents. Consider in the first dozen episodes of Beverly Hills 90210, you have Perfect Mom, which is all about Kelly's mom's cocaine addiction. Then later that season, you have The 17-Year Itch, which is about Cindy being tempted to have an affair. And then in season 3, season 2, Jackie gets pregnant. End of the season, Mel and Jackie get married. Season 3, Mel cheats on her. Cindy's concerned about Jim being interested in his secretary/assistant. And obviously, like on most of the teen dramas, the adults became less critical as time went on. I guess the OC would be the exception to that. But it's a mistake to think that the OC kind of put adult storylines in teen dramas on the map, because that's not the case. And I feel that way also about something else that the OC is given credit for, and that's the concept of music videos and really cool music acts being on the show and giving performances. That also started with Beverly Hills 90210. And it started in season 5 with the introduction of the Peach Pit After Dark, which was kind of like the nightclub side of the Peach Pit Diner. And from the get-go, they had really cool music acts perform there. And they weren't just cool then. Like, some of them are some of the biggest stars today. For example, one of the groups that performed at the After Dark was Kara's Flowers. You know Kara's Flowers today is Maroon 5. That's a huge deal. Another person that performed at the After Dark, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera is one of the top pop singers of all time. So Beverly Hills 90210 really set the stage, no pun intended, for having a venue, a place where all the core group, the gang, could hang out, and they'd bring on guest stars as musical performers and have them perform. And the OC did that with the Bait Shop. They brought on, Rooney and other acts, and they did it well. And it's definitely something that I think can be put in the pro column for the show, but it's not something that was unique to the OC, and it's not something that the OC started. And of course, One Tree Hill, which I'll be talking about very soon, also did that to an extent, or to a really large extent, really, with Trick. That was its nightclub, its gathering place for the characters, and where they had big stars come in and perform. The OC, something that it's known for in the con column, is that it burned through a lot of plot really freaking fast. Its first season was close to 30 episodes, which in today's day and age is kind of crazy, because some seasons are like 10 episodes. Consider this, Beverly Hills 90210 for a number of seasons did 32 episodes. It's really mind-boggling. Either word, both applies. So with the OC, they burned so much plot in part because of the large episode order, but also because they just didn't pace themselves well. They just maybe didn't give certain arcs enough time to breathe and space them out and plot them well enough. And so I like to say the OC burned bright and it burned fast. It was a huge part of the pop culture zeitgeist, but it only lasted for 4 seasons, and that actually means it is the shortest show of all of the teen dramas that I consider to be one of the core shows. So I think that's really interesting. Just double checking my notes here to see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Probably the most other obvious thing to address is that the OC really launched Josh Schwartz's career. It put him on the map. He was one of the youngest showrunners in television at the time that he launched the OC. He was only in his 20s. And without the OC, we wouldn't have gotten another show, and that's Gossip Girl. And I'll be talking about that too soon. If you have any more questions or thoughts about the teen dramas, you can always comment. You can always reach out to me. And I'll put some links in the description about some of the things I discussed in this video. Bye.